I've got some really sad news, and I just needed to share it with someone. You see, I'm a 29-year-old married woman with 2 lovely kids. Recently, I had to make a tough decision to leave my husband and children behind for a while. My mom, who I love dearly, has been battling cancer, and things have taken a turn for the worse. I took a 2-week break from my usual routine so I could be there for her during this incredibly challenging time. Let me give you a bit of a background on where I'm coming from. I grew up as the only child in a military family. My dad, he was in military intelligence, always away on assignments that took him all over. When I was younger, my mom and I lived on the base. I remember those days when my dad would be away for months at a time, serving his duty. My mom, she mostly stayed at home during those early years. It was around that time she started working on the base, and that's when she got pregnant with me. Despite my dad's frequent travels, we created a home on the base, finding strength in each other. Now, with my own family, I find myself making a journey to my childhood home in Kansas to be with my mom. Cancer has been a cruel opponent, and I just needed these 2 weeks to be by her side. It's a tough call, leaving my husband and kids behind, but family has always come first. So, as I was saying, my mom and I didn't move around much. Unlike many military families, we stayed rooted in one place while my dad, committed to his military assignments, traveled extensively. Life took its course, and after high school, I ventured out of state for college. That's where I met the person who would become my husband. Fast forward to the present. My dad, now 61, has retired from his years of service. My mom, at 58, got hit with the devastating news of cancer. It's a cruel twist of fate that brought them back to my hometown in Kansas. My dad had to be there for her, and my heart brought me back too, as her condition worsened. Arriving in Kansas, the mixed emotions were overwhelming. On one hand, there was sheer happiness at being reunited with my mom, someone who has been a rock in my life. But as I hugged her, I couldn't ignore the reality that she was drastically different. Cancer had progressed, and despite the treatments, the harsh truth stared us in the face. The happiness of seeing my mom was accompanied by a heavy sadness. It was tough to witness her weakened state. Her vibrant spirit was still there, but the toll of the illness was undeniable. I wanted to be strong for her, but it broke my heart to see her this way. Then there was my dad. Our relationship had always been good, and seeing him again brought a mix of joy and pain. The sadness in his eyes spoke louder than words. He didn't have to say it, but I knew. The unspoken truth lingered in the air. My mom didn't have much time left. As I spent those days with them, I cherished the moments, but the impending loss weighed heavily on all of us. Life can be so bittersweet, and in those moments, I couldn't help but reflect on the journey that brought us to this challenging crossroad. Growing up, it became clear just how much my dad loved my mom. The most challenging aspect of their relationship was his constant military travels. My mom often shared with him how lonely she felt during those long periods of separation. Their love, however, triumphed, and in their pursuit of companionship, they decided to bring a new life into the world. That new life was me. After I was born, my mom found solace and company. I became her companion during my dad's travels. Even as a child, I could sense the depth of their connection. We formed a trio, navigating the challenges that came with my dad's duty. Fast forward to my recent visit to Kansas. Despite my mom's illness, we found moments of peace in nature. I spent hours pushing her wheelchair through the scenic landscapes, reminiscing about the times when she used to take me outdoors when I was a child. It was our way of connecting, finding joy in the midst of adversity. However, as the days passed, I noticed a weight on my mom's heart. Something seemed to be bothering her, and one evening, after 4 days into my visit, she mustered the strength to share something with me. We sat in the quiet of her room, and with a heavy heart, she broke the news. Tears welled up in her eyes as she revealed a shocking truth. I was not biologically related to my dad. It wasn't that I was adopted. She had pictures documenting her pregnancy stages, but the biological connection wasn't with my dad. And the most heart-wrenching part was that my dad, the man I had known and loved as my father, was unaware of this truth. The revelation hit me like a tidal wave. I felt a mix of confusion, disbelief, and a profound sadness for my mom, who had carried this secret for so long. In that moment, the foundation of my understanding of family and identity was shaken, and I grappled with the complexities of my own history. After my mom dropped that bombshell, she pleaded with me to keep it a secret from my dad. In the midst of the shock, I couldn't even fathom the idea. It seemed like something out of a movie, and I half believed she might be losing her mind. In a daze, I retreated to the bedroom, shutting the door behind me, trying to make sense of it all. The questions flooded my mind like a relentless storm. Who was my biological dad? Why had my mom kept this secret for so long? Did I really know my family at all? The feelings of betrayal were overwhelming, and the love I had for my dad felt like it was hanging by a fragile thread. Hours passed in that room. I was lost in a whirlwind of emotions, from anger to sadness and confusion. I needed answers, but I also needed my mom to provide more clarity. I couldn't emerge from that room until I had a better understanding of the truth. Meanwhile, my dad, sensing my distress, noticed I hadn't come out. I heard him go out, and part of me wanted to pour my heart out to him. But I held back. I wanted my mom to reveal more, to address the myriad questions spinning in my head. Summoning the courage, I finally opened the bedroom door. As I stepped into the living room, my mom sat there, her eyes reflecting the gravity of the situation. My dad was out of the house then. I couldn't keep it in any longer. I began confronting my mom with a barrage of questions, hoping against hope that she would somehow tell me it was all a misunderstanding. Yet she remained steadfast. With hours of contemplation behind me, I was ready to ask the difficult questions, to face the reality that my life had taken an unexpected turn. As I bombarded my mom with questions, she finally began to unravel the painful truth. She admitted to having an affair during the times my dad was away. Loneliness, she said, drove her to seek companionship. A part-time job on the base led her to a man in the military. Their affair went on and off, stopping when my dad returned home and resuming when he left again. My world shook as she explained that she knew I wasn't my dad's biological daughter. The complexity of the situation was staggering, and the fact that she had held on to this secret for 29 years left me speechless. She shared that she knew the man's first name but couldn't recall his last. Over the years, she lost track of him, and attempts to find him yielded no results. She had abandoned the search, fearing the consequences if she were caught seeking the truth. I couldn't comprehend the weight of the revelation. My mom, my rock, had carried this burden silently for almost 3 decades. I questioned her motives, why she had kept this from me for so long. Her explanation was laced with regret and remorse. She clarified that the man she had the affair with suspected I might be his daughter, but wanted no responsibility. Yet she chose not to pursue him either, as her primary desire was for his companionship. She reassured me that despite everything, she still loved my dad. The complexity of emotions swirled within me. I grappled with feelings of betrayal, confusion, and an overwhelming sadness for my mom, who, despite her mistakes, was still navigating the complexities of love and family. After my mom revealed this heartbreaking secret, she implored me not to tell my dad. She feared that the truth would shatter him, and he might never recover. Knowing the depth of my dad's love for both of us, I understood the weight of her words. My dad had always been a wonderful father, and the thought of causing him such pain tore at my heart. For the first time, I found myself keeping a profound secret from my dad. We had shared everything before, but this was different. I wrestled with the dilemma of whether to burden him with the truth or let him continue to live in the blissful ignorance of our family's complexity. I was torn, but I couldn't bear the thought of his last moments with my mom being tainted by the revelation of this painful secret. 2 days after my mom shared the sad news with me, she passed away. Her departure left a void that was as heavy as the secret she had carried. The funeral became a somber gathering, and my husband and kids traveled from New York to join me in the mourning. I extended my vacation for bereavement, feeling the weight of sorrow and the responsibility of carrying the truth. During this period, my dad mourned the loss of his wife, a woman he believed was loyal to him. The sadness etched on his face intensified my internal struggle. I couldn't bring myself to reveal the truth and potentially destroy the image he held of our family. The pain in his eyes reflected the love he had for my mom, and I couldn't bear to add another layer of heartbreak to his grief. As much as the truth tugged at me, I chose to preserve the memory of my mom in my dad's heart as the loving wife he believed she was. I wanted him to continue being the best dad in the world without the burden of this painful revelation. Upon joining my husband and child in New York, the weight of the secret became too much to bear. My husband noticed my prolonged sadness and, thinking it was solely due to my mom's passing, offered his support. However, as the days passed and my mourning lingered, I felt the need to share the truth with someone. One day, I decided to confide in my husband about the shocking revelation my mom had disclosed, that my dad wasn't my biological father. His initial shock turned into a belief that it was crucial for me to tell my dad the truth. He argued that honesty was paramount, and it was better for my dad to hear it from me than for the secret to linger. But I disagreed vehemently. I was afraid that revealing this truth would break my dad, tarnishing the beautiful memories he had of my mom. The disagreement between my husband and me escalated into a huge argument. I couldn't fathom causing my dad more pain, especially after losing my mom. Despite my husband apologizing for getting involved, he continued to make me feel guilty for not telling my dad. The internal conflict persisted, and after days of wrestling with the decision, I reluctantly picked up the phone and told my dad. His disbelief was palpable. He thought my mom might have been experiencing mental issues in her final days. The atmosphere grew tense until I mentioned the first name of the person my mom had the affair with. His silence spoke volumes. There was no way I should have known that name, and it sent a chill down his spine. Though he wanted confirmation, I could already felt the disgust in his voice as he grappled with the idea that my mom had kept such a significant secret. Even though my dad wasn't entirely convinced that I wasn't his biological daughter, the revelation had already cast a shadow over the memories he held dear. The confirmation arrived through DNA samples, and the truth echoed louder than ever. My dad was not my biological father. Devastation enveloped him, and he withdrew, refusing to answer my calls. I felt not only anger towards my mom, but also towards my husband for pushing me to reveal this painful secret. Frustration and guilt swirled within me. I hadn't forgiven my husband for his persistence, and the aftermath would only deepen the wounds. Unable to reach my dad for days, anxiety took hold, and I decided to ask family members to check on him. To my horror, the police delivered a heart-wrenching message. My dad had taken his own life. The shock and grief were overwhelming. The weight of the truth had shattered not only the foundation of my family, but it also claimed the life of the man I had always called Dad. The aftermath of that devastating moment left scars that time could never fully heal. Until this day, I haven't recovered, and I wondered what a huge mistake I had made for revealing the truth.